Today I'm going to be working on the Lupine and Laughter Mystery Quilt by Bonnie Hunter. I'm working on clue 4, which is half rectangle triangles. I haven't made those very often, so I'm going to experiment with a bunch of different ways, and I invite you to join along with me so you can figure out which method you prefer. I'll also show you the wrong way to make them. Yikes! My name is Shalina, and this is day 13 of the 15 Minutes to Quilt Challenge, where I challenge you to sew for at least 15 minutes every day. You can enter to win prizes. Stay tuned for more details later on in the video. So let's get started. Today I'm working on Bonnie Hunter's Lupine and Laughter Mystery Quilt. The fourth clue is about half rectangle triangles. It's not a block that I've made very often, so I think I'm just going to try out some different methods to see which one works right for me. So this is clue 2 is half square triangles. I thought I'd bring this out as a comparison for the rectangles. So one thing that I had thought about is that you would go ahead and just do the same thing. Take the two fabrics right side together, draw a line and sew on both sides of the line, and that's how you would make your block. And so this is the same way. If you do that with the rectangle, I'm going to experiment with you. I'm using up fabric so you don't have to. This is the wrong way to do, but I wanted to show you why it's wrong. And then I'll show you a couple ways that hopefully will work correctly for us, and we'll go from there. So right now I'm just going to go to the sewing machine and just sew on both sides of this line. Okay, I'm back. I've gone ahead and sewn on both sides of the line here. I'm using a matching thread because I always hope that it's going to work just fine and I can use it in the quilt. And now I can just take them apart by cutting on the drawn line. And I can use scissors or I can use the rotary cutter. Either way would work fine. And here's my half rectangle triangle. That does not look right. This is not the right way to do it. It's the wrong shape. This is not a rectangle. Looks like an airplane. You also can't take your two rectangles together and just cut them on the line because you're going to wind up with the same problem. You can see here that you're going to have them the wrong way, and there's no way for you to make that match. I thought that I might be able to make the other one match, but I had the same problem with the other side. So make sure that when you're doing this, that you put them both right sides up so that they will be in the correct order. So let's try these triangles. I just cut a whole nother shape. Okay, so this is the rectangle. And if you put them right sides up, you'll be able to get them to match correctly, like this. You just want to make sure that you have the right directions for both of these rectangles. And once you do this, if you have both right sides up, that will work. And now I can go ahead and mix and match these correctly, so they're going in the correct direction. And remember, you want to make sure that you have as Bonnie said, have the fat end with the skinny end so that you end up with a rectangle. So the important thing to know is just keep thinking, I want a rectangle at the end, and make sure it's going to look like a rectangle, I guess, before you start sewing. If you use this method, it's tempting to sew them, just put them both on the point, but what you want to do is to go down a little bit, so that there's a 1/4 inch sticking out up here and a 1/4 inch sticking out down here. That will help make sure that you are lining them up correctly. If you put them exactly on the line, then you're just wasting fabric and you won't get the size that you want. If you have a ruler for half square rectangles, obviously you could do that. I don't happen to have one, but another thing you could do is just to trim off a 1/4 inch. To me, if I just trim off a 1/4 inch trim off the little points, this is a 1/4 inch off. That will really help me figure out how to line these up, because it's really the lining up that's the hardest part. I want both these little pointy things off. And this will help me make sure that I'm lining them up exactly correctly, because now I don't have to worry about how to line things up. I can actually go corner to corner this way, versus if you don't trim off the little points, then you're going to have to make sure that you estimate and just take them off like this. Okay, so I pulled out some rulers that I had, and I don't think you can use these to trim. I thought I would be able to, but I can't, because I don't know how far in to go. Like, I want to trim off this point, right? And if I put my ruler here, I don't really know whether I should trim here or go up farther. This one probably makes sense, but actually, this one kind of does make sense. So this one to me makes the most sense. So if you're going point to point, that you should be able to trim off this much. I'm going to just draw a line to see if that's correct. I'm not going to cut this here, but let's see if that works out correctly when we are done sewing this. And we're going to trim off the same on this side too. We'll just use a ruler. I'm just seeing, what I'm doing is I'm just checking that this is the end of the fabric and this is at the end of the fabric, so this is where I would have trimmed. I'm not actually going to do it, but we'll see if that would work. But it kind of gives you an estimate for where to start and end the fabric. So I'm going to end here, which is a little bit more than what I thought, but you can see that it's approximately the same size on both sides, so I think this is correct. It just looks so wrong, but this is how we're going to do this. And then sew the 2 at a time method. So these are the 3 ways I'm going to go ahead and try. I'm going to go ahead and sew them this way with the points trimmed off. I'm going to sew it this way with the points not trimmed off, but you can see I have a 1/4 of an inch out on both sides. And I'm also going to try it this way. This will make 2 at a time rectangle triangles. So we'll meet you at the sewing machine. Okay, first I'm going to try out the one that's already been trimmed. Just matching them corner to corner. Needle down. I'm using a 1/4 inch foot that has a little lip here so it keeps the fabric in the right place. And I'm going to try this other one. I'm just sewing on both sides of this line now. And before I do the other side, I'll just go ahead and do this one. This one. And this is the one that has the, that I'm going to have to estimate how much fabric I need to do. So this is the one that I find the most tricky, just because I'm always afraid that I'm going to estimate too low or too high. But all of these cutting directions are going to give you something that is bigger than you need, so that you can trim them down to the size that you need. So if you do make any mistakes, if you make a minor mistake, it's going to be just fine. I'm going to go back and do the other side of this one. Okay, I'm going to switch off to the other camera so we can see what we wound up with. Okay, it's just another reminder that these are cut at 3x6, so I want to get 2x4 rectangles. This is not the size that we need for Bonnie Hunter's Mystery, so you don't have to worry about that, me giving you directions that I'm not supposed to give you. So this is the one that has the points trimmed off. And when we look at these, you can see that they do still look like rectangles. So this is a correct method. It's a little bit tricky here. You just have to make sure that you're correctly lining up everything here. But hopefully, because I'm cutting big, it should be okay. This is the one where I had to estimate how much overlap there should be. And I think this one also is going to give me a nice rectangle. That's a big bonus, I guess, is the fact that it does give you a rectangle. Let's compare these two sizes. They look like they're the same, so that's good. And then the last one is the 2 at a time one. I sewed on both sides of the line, but it's just weird how I had to put the fabric in different direction than what you would normally do for a half square triangle. And so now I'm going to go ahead and cut out a line here with my good scissors. I'll go ahead and just use a rotary cutter because I have it available. You can use scissors or you can use a rotary cutter to do this. Either way is fine. I do have a little bobble here that's not quite right. You can see that this fabric is not quite straight, but I think it should be okay. And so there's this one. This one also gives you a rectangle at the end here. And they're both the same, which is good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press first, and then I'll be right back so we can do a comparison of them, the trimming part. Okay, I'm back. I've gone ahead and pressed everything. So this is the 2 at a time method. This is the one where I trimmed off the edges already, and this is the one where I had to line up the edges. This is the one where I had to have the edge poke out a little bit on both sides. So these should make 2x4s. So let's see where we wind up. So this one, you can see this is not the angle that we want to use to line up our squares. So I cut these at 3 inches by 6 inches. The finished size is 2 inches by 4 inches, which means that the cut size is 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So you can see here on this side, this is almost 5.5 inches, so there's plenty of room to trim. And on this side, it's more than 2.5, so there's plenty of trimming room here. So we can just go ahead and trim this at 2x4. I'm just going to trim off the dog ear at the end here. Bonnie did say that she wants us to have some extra room here at the end, so 1/4 of an inch, she said. So this one's, move over a little bit. There we go. This one's 1/4 of an inch away from this one's 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that line. And we'll assume that this fabric is correct, so I'll just trim here. And then I want 4.5 inches on this side, so this will be 4.5. That's weird. And then I need this to be 1/4 of an inch away, and this will be 2.5. Which will give me that 1/8 of an inch here that I need. Okay, so there's a lot of trimming to do on this one, but it does make sure that you have the right size triangle that you need. All of the blocks pretty much trimmed up the same way, so I'll just be through that section. But my plan now is to try it with the smaller size that we need for the mystery quilt, and I'll probably just try it some different ways. I'll try to make it a little bit wider and a little bit shorter so it doesn't waste quite so much fabric. And then what I'm going to do when I trim is I'm going to use Bonnie's template for paper piecing. I'm not going to paper piece, but I think I'll just use that template to trim off these rectangles. I'm a little bit confused about that 1/4 inch. That's 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch. I'm not sure which it is. That's supposed to stick out a little bit, but I think with enough practice I'll be able to figure it out. And in the meantime, since I did go ahead and make a video about the flying geese, I thought I'd just show you what the flying geese looks like for my mystery quilt. The secret word of the day is stay. Stay to find out how to win prizes, and stay to see the flying geese that I made for this quilt. And there we have it. All of these worked correctly. And so now I have 4. I have 2 of each now. And remember that one important thing about this method is that you do have to go in the correct direction, because these two are the same, but if you turn them around, they aren't going to give you what you need. When this is what you need, you can't turn this triangle to this triangle just by turning it the other direction, because that's going to give you something different. So turning this triangle to this triangle you can't do. You have to create a different one to cut. You have to cut in a different direction in order to be able to do that. So there we have it, 4 triangles ready for the mystery quilt. If you wanted these to be a different size, obviously you can cut them the size that Bonnie had asked you to cut, and to get a different size half rectangle triangle. And as you saw, if you make them too big, you can trim them down to size. And when you sew these, you'll get 1/4 of an inch off of this, and 1/4 of an inch off of this, and then you still will have your point in the corner. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial for making half rectangle triangles so that you can make your Bonnie Hunter, Lupine, and Laughter mystery quilt. I have a video that showed you the strategies for making mystery quilts by Bonnie Hunter. I also have a video that shows you how to make the 1/4 square triangles for clue 1, and I have a video for how to make the flying geese for clue 2. And I'm not going to prepare another video for the half square triangles because I just showed you today how to make those. I also have another video on how you can use a 10-inch square on making a whole bunch of HSTs all at once. So if you'd rather make it quick and easy, you can do that. Personally, I'm going to be using the 2 at a time method just because I want to have a lot of variety in my fabric choices. I'm making a smaller size than Bonnie is, I'm probably about 1/4 of a size, and so I'm going to need to get as much variety as I can in the small number of squares that I'm using. And while I'm at it, I'm going to show you that I've gone ahead and made the starts of the other blocks. So here's the blocks that I'm making so far with this scrappy. I have to admit, the first time I saw these, it looked to me like I had made some major mistake and I was not going to wind up with correct flying geese. But as you saw here, I can assure you that these definitely make flying geese. I also hope that you had a chance to sew along with me, and if you did, make sure you leave a comment to let me know what you worked on today, and you can get an entry in the drawing that way. The second way that you can enter to win whether or not you had a chance to sew today is to use the secret word of the day in your comment. Each winner will win a copy of the Quilt Journal plus some other goodies. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support and hope to see you again tomorrow, if not sooner. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's video.